inshallah, he will make, inshallah, Ibrahim was said in the beginning of the surah, but we had stopped at ayah number فَلَا صَدَّقَ وَلَا صَلَّى. Inshallah, we'll continue from there. But just to summarize everything, one of the first things we mentioned was about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning about the ahwal al-Qiyaama, the things that will happen on the day of Qiyamah. One of the things we mentioned is that وَجُمِعَ الشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring the qamar and the shams together. This is one of the things we mentioned. And the other thing we mentioned was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will let the obedience nations see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is another thing that we mentioned. And the other thing we mentioned was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to preserve the Quran in the Prophet's heart, because he said, لا تحرك لسانك لتعجل به. Because one of the things the Prophet used to do is he used to repeat with Jibreel alayhi salam when he would recite it upon him, so he would repeat it with him. So this was a command given to him that was obviously specifically for him at that point in time. And just one thing I want to mention, كَلَّا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ التَّرَاقِي. This is when the soul is about to depart. وَقِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ. Raq is the one who is going to, the word raqi is typically used nowadays for the one who is going to recite the Quran upon somebody, if somebody is sick. So it is said to this dying person, وَقِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ, who is going to save him from this situation that he is in. So this is some of the commentary we mentioned. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to start from فَلَا صَدَّقَ وَلَا صَلَّى, and that is ayah number 21, but we will just recite from the beginning of the surah, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بيوم القيامة ولا أقسم بالنفس اللوامة. أيحسب الإنسان أن لن نجمع عظامه بلى قادرين على أن نسوي بنانه بل يريد الإنسان ليفجر أمامه يسأل أيان يوم القيامة فإذا برق البصر وخسف القمر وجمع الشمس والقمر يقول الإنسان يومئذ أين المفر كلا لا وزر
20 when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْمَسَاقُ. Obviously we're all going to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the next ayah that we're going to focus on, فَلَا صَدَّقْ وَلَا صَلَّى. The general commentary you'll find in all of the books of tafsir is that this person, he did not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he did not pray. So obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to the ones who disbelieved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the general commentary. But you will find scholars, they use this whenever they have to remind you of the importance of the prayer. They will also tell you, look, when it comes to belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the other things that is mentioned also is about salah. Even when the people of the hellfire are asked what brought you here, one of the things they mention is, again, the salah. And the other thing they mention is that we did not feed the poor. To give the importance of the fara'id, brothers, is one of the most important things. So for our children, for ourselves, no matter what happens, we need to pray and preserve our prayers. حافظوا على الصلاة. So hold strong to your prayers, obviously, in the earliest of times. Now the general commentary people always tell me is that, what's the point of this person praying? He's doing all of these actions. And without any doubt, the salah should be improving yourself, improving your heart. Nobody's going to take that away. But even if you're falling into sins, that does not mean you leave the salah. And this is not the understanding of the scholars. No matter what, if you're struggling with your iman, we hold firm to the salah. This is even addressed, even a kafir is addressed, فَلَا صَدَّقَ وَلَا صَلَى. He did not believe and he did not pray. وَلَكِنْ كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. But he obviously disbelieved and he turned away. So brothers, just in the first two ayahs, always know the importance of the salah in our lives. Inshallah, next few ayahs.
ثم ذهب إلى أهله يتمطى أولى لك فأولى ثم أولى لك فأولى.
ثم ذهب إلى. So he returned back to his family. يتمطى. So there's few commentaries that are typically mentioned is that when he walks on this earth, he walks with arrogance. When he goes back and he's prideful. So we have to always remind ourselves, how did we start? And that comes after this. We were only a liquid, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us into different forms. He's given us life, and inshallah ta'ala we will return back to Him. So whenever we deal with the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to be humble. And when we deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to realize we are His slaves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of all the creations. So humility is a key factor. And obviously this is mentioning a sifa, a quality of somebody who disbelieves in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers. So when you deal with the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be humble. Even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with something, be thankful and know that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَوْلَى لَكَ فَأَوْلَى ثُمَّ أَوْلَى لَكَ فَأَوْلَى. So this is an woe twice, تأكيد. أَوْلَى لَكَ فَأَوْلَى. Then again, أَوْلَى لَكَ فَأَوْلَى. So this is a woe that is said twice in two ayahs. ثُمَّ then أَيَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ أَن يُتْرَكَ سُدًى. Inshallah we'll recite until the end and I'll try to complete the whole thing.
أيحسب الإنسان أن يترك سدى ألم يك نطفة من مني يمنى ثم كان علقة فخلق فسوى فجعل منه الزوجين الذكر والأنثى أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى.
أيحسب الإنسان. Does insan think that he's going to be left alone? Left alone, like even in this dunya and in the hereafter. So whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us commandment, or when it comes to prohibitions, Does he think that he's going to be left alone, that you will be left alone to do whatever you wish, that you are neglected in this dunya and the hereafter? But this is a question. Obviously, this is not going to be the case. We are going to be taken into account for every single action that we have committed in this earth. And then obviously when we return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we may be punished for it, we may be rewarded for it, for the actions that we have done. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking, does the insan think that he is going to be left alone? And now this is going back to our roots. أَلَمْ يَكُ نُطْفَةً مِّن مَّنِيٍّ ثُمَّ كَانَ عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقَ فَسَوَّى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us how we started off. Nutfa is the semen that we started off in. And the next part is that alaqa is the clot that we became. Obviously there is there is levels that we went through. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us of that levels. And whenever we are going towards any sort of pride and arrogance, we have to again ask ourselves, how did we start off with? What were we and what were we going to go back to? That is, we're going to go back to the qubur, we're going to go back to the graves, and we have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the next ayah, inshallah wa ta'ala, فَجَعَلَ مِنْهُ الزَّوْجَيْنِ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنْثَى. We have created from insan, there's another commentary, زوجين, two of that is dhakar and untha. From insan we have made, that is the next generation, we have made male and female. And the other commentary you find is from the nutfa, from this liquid, eventually this becomes again male and female. That is progeny after progeny after progeny. Now somebody might say, but sometimes, especially in our day and time, I found this in one of the tafsirs, generally when the language is used, from insan we have made male and female, the general meaning is ghalib, that is mostly. So if somebody were to say, I know a person who was born, whatever they call it today, I think agender, or someone who's born with two genders, this is not the norm, but the norm then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions al-ghalib, yani what happens mostly. So this is how language is generally used. If I tell you, I called you 100 times, you understand the meaning out of it. You don't take sometimes a literal meaning. Or in this case, is that most, al-ghalib, is that we are either male or female. So always keep this in mind. And the last part, أَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ بِقَادِرٍ عَلَىٰ أَن يُحْيِيَ الْمَوْتَى. And this is obviously mentioning the capability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala capable of giving life to the dead in the end? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will resurrect every single one of us, and we will be resurrected barefoot and circumcised. And the first one who will be clothed on the day of Qiyamah is Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is the narration of what we have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows why Ibrahim alayhi salam, but he will be one of the first one. And there will be faces, as we mentioned in the previous ayah, that will be glowing because of their righteous deeds. And there will be faces that will be darkened because of their evil deeds. So when we face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers, the month of Ramadan is upon us, we want to make sure we're getting every single action that we can have, and we're preparing for Qiyamah, and we're preparing to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do not know when the Qiyamah is, but what we know is Qiyamah starts once all of us pass away. Qiyamah will start. So we want to be ready to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften our hearts when we hear the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and make us amongst those people who hear and obey the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka. Jazakumullahu khairan.